Coming up on this episode, the Warriors, they draft an Aussie in Alex Toohey with the 52nd overall pick before also taking Florida national champion Will Richard at 56. I'll talk about both prospects and what their arrival means for the Warrior roster as free agency draws near. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast after the completion of the second round of the 2025 NBA draft. I just want to do a little bit of a quick episode here with some brief thoughts. I might do a bit of a longer episode tomorrow, just looking at the draft in its entirety and a few moves around the league that have been made here over the past 48 hours. But the Warriors, a flurry of moves today that's seen them take Alex Toohey with the 52nd overall pick, and then Will Richard with the 56th overall pick, I should say. So we woke up this morning and the Warriors had the 41st pick in the draft, and a couple of hours before the second round took place, they made a really interesting trade with the Phoenix Suns where they traded back to the 52nd pick and then also acquired the 59th pick in the process. It's very difficult. We're talking about late speculative second round picks. It's very difficult to make conclusions and statements about this trade based on, not having seen these guys play in the NBA yet. Like there's a long way to go, but I don't like it. And I think it's bizarre. Like Kobe Bray ends up going 41st to the Suns, which I think he would have been a good selection for the Warriors, like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", probably or arguably the best pure shooter in the draft. And we know the Warriors kind of need that combination of size and shooting. Would have been a nice wing addition. I think the Warriors definitely need shooting and probably rely too heavily on Buddy Hield last season. But anyway, they give that pick up and then to move back 11 spots and only get the 59th pick in the process, to which they then moved up from 59 to 56, gave up a top 50 protected second round pick in 2032 and the draft rights to Justinian Jessup. That's a sad day that the Justinian Jessup era is over in Golden State. His name actually came up in our Slack channel the other day, which is quite funny. And I know fond memories because he played out here in Australia with the Illawarra Hawks for a couple of years as well. But they did all that to move up to 56 to draft Will Richard as well. I think, again, a long way to go. I think I would have just preferred to keep the 41st overall pick and take one of the prospects that were available, whether it was Bray, yourself, or a couple other guys that went between that kind of 41 and 52 selection. The Warriors obviously took an Australian in the end with Alex Toohey, but I might have preferred Tyrese Proctor or, again, someone that was taken between that 41st and 52nd pick. Tweet here from Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle said that Mike Dunleavy had hoped to trade back in the second round for about a week. So it seemed like this was always going to be the case, like the value they got in exchange for the 41st pick. Okay, cool. I don't. Like, you got pick 59 for moving back 11 spots and then used, granted, a top 50 protected second rounder to move up to 56. I don't know, a little bit strange, but obviously the Warriors had Toohey and Richard. Those guys had held workouts in the Bay Area, I think, over the last couple of weeks. So obviously those guys had been in their sights. I don't know about this. Now, clearly to me, Golden State have just made the decision, hey, and I think there's jokes about it on social media already about how they took Kuminga and Wiseman as like athletic guys first and foremost, and they didn't really work out. Although the Kuminga thing, who knows what will happen here still in the next week, let alone what could happen down the road if he does remain with the Warriors. But I think they clearly looked at those two guys and those failures, you would say, and just basically go back to the tried and tested of, okay, we want players who fit the Steve Kerr system, who fit the Warrior mold. And I think that's exactly what they've done here over the last couple of drafts. And that remains the case with taking Alex Toohey and Will Richard, who are guys that could become rotation caliber role players in the NBA, but I can guarantee you the Warriors haven't drafted Nikola Jokic or anything like that with these two picks. Like, these guys aren't going to be stars by any means. They're not those kind of high upside prospects who, you know what, there's a 95% chance they don't make it in the NBA at all, but there's a very, very slight chance they become more than just role players. And you look at Alex Toohey, who again has played the last couple of years with the Sydney Kings here in the NBL, kind of described as a jack of all trades forward, like a jack of all trades, master of none, but is kind of like a high IQ, versatile prospect, which again, the Warriors want high IQ guys. They want guys to be able to play in the Steve Kerr system. Now, whether Alex Toohey can make it or not probably comes down to his three-point shooting. He knocked down just 31% of his threes with the Kings in the NBL last season. So that's a bit of an issue. Yes, like you like the idea of this versatile 6'8" forward who can handle the ball a bit, who's pretty good on the boards, who can defend at a pretty decent level. But again, whether or not he can make it will probably come down to the shooting aspect. And then with Will Richard, a bit more experience in terms of collegiate experience, obviously 4 years, I think Belmont, and then the last 3 with Florida. Had a huge championship game. What did he have? 18 points, 8 rebounds or so. We'll wait and see what happens with these guys in terms of whether or not, you know, Dunleavy's already said that it's going to be dependent on free agency, on whether or not these guys are on the main roster, two-way contracts, or potentially even go, you know, without a contract and are either stashed into Santa Cruz to develop there, or even maybe Tui plays another year with the Kings in the NBL or something like that. We'll wait and see. Again, Dunleavy said we'll see what happens with free agency. I do want to I think Warrior fans probably need to settle down a little bit. I saw a few fans on social media that were kind of angry that, hey, we're getting these guys to fill out the end of the roster. I don't think this is to fill out the end of the roster. Maybe one of them at best gets a main roster spot, but definitely both won't. So the Warriors currently have 9 players under contract for next season, which includes Guy Santos, who has a player option, a team option. And I think Trace Jackson-Davis is non-guaranteed as well. TJD will definitely be on the roster. The Warriors didn't pick up another center here at all, so you'd expect they're going forward with Quentin Post and Trace Jackson-Davis, and they're going to acquire another center of sorts, you'd imagine, whether that be bringing back Kevon Looney, which I think it's probably more so likely that they look at an external option, potentially in free agency, maybe a Brook Lopez or something like that, although that seems to have cooled off a little bit. We'll wait and see. But Guy Santos is so Trace you'd expect to be guaranteed. You'd expect them to pick up the team option on Guy Santos. Guy might be a little bit more of a watch given they've just drafted Alex Toohey, who I think there's a lot of similarities in there. Like Guy is probably also seen as this kind of not do-it-all forward, but like hustle guy, high IQ. Whether or not Guy can become a decent, efficient enough shooter will also, like Alex Toohey, be dependent on whether he can make it long term in the league or not. But I think Guy showed enough this season to suggest that he's got some kind of future, and therefore I'd be shocked if he's not with the Warriors next season. He showed himself to be a capable role player when called upon. Whether he can develop into more than that and become a real long-term piece here for years to come, I think the jury's still out, but again, we saw enough this season to suggest there's plenty to work with and that the Warriors should retain him moving forward. So that means they've got 9 on the roster. That's 6 spots. I'm assuming the way the Warriors work, they're not going to have 15 straight up. Like they're probably going to have 14. They may even have 13 and then use training camp and preseason as a battle for a 14th roster spot. So, again, maybe one of these guys gets a main roster spot. And I actually think it might be Richard, given he's a little, slightly older at 22 years of age, might be a little bit more ready to go and closer to making a rotation impact. What I would say, and perhaps the biggest takeaway for me from the Warriors getting Will Richard, is the fact that I think GP2 is probably on his way out. A lot of fans across social media and myself already see Richard as a potential replacement for Gary Payton II. Like, I think Yahoo Sports, Kevin O'Connor mentioned how Richard's energetic defense really played a strong role in the Gators' run to the championship. And so when you think about energetic defense, you think about Gary Payton II. They're similar size. Like I think GP2 is only 6'2", but Richard's that 6'3", 6'4" mark. Richard probably a little bit more upside in terms of his shooting. He was a solid-ish 35, 36% with the Gators this past season on nearly 6 attempts. So I think there's some similarities there that would suggest that maybe Richard is the younger, cheaper as a late second round pick alternative to bringing GP2 back, and therefore that his time with the Warriors, unfortunately, as a beloved veteran, he might be on his way out, which I'm not going to be shocked by given this Richard acquisition in the draft, and just based on the fact like the Warriors. They need more shooting. They need more offense. And unfortunately, for as good as GP2 is, he's 32. He's got some injury issues over the past few years, albeit he played, 62 games or something this season, which wasn't too bad. But his offensive limitations, the fact that he shot less than 33% from three-point range, and teams will not guard him whatsoever beyond the perimeter, it's becoming really problematic for a team that's already got Draymond, for a team that's already got Jimmy Butler, who aren't really respected from beyond the arc. You look at Richard is coming into a team that's got Pods, Moody, Buddy Hield as guys that play at the 2 at the 3. I struggle to see where GP2's role is moving forward, and maybe the Warriors think that they can carve Richard and develop him into a very similar role as perhaps a little less athletic than GP2, but with a better three ball, and therefore is probably going to be more versatile in terms of playing in different lineups if you've got a guy out there who the defenses will actually close out to on the perimeter, which again, shooting 35, 36% on nearly 6 3-point attempts per game shows that he's willing to throw them up. And that he will knock them down at a reasonable level. So that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is, and this is not the Warriors traded up to get Richard as well. Like, this is not just a guy they ended up taking at 59th. They had the 59th pick, and I don't know if there was some threat there or something that someone was going to take him 56, 57, or 58, but they've ended up trading up, getting rid of Justinian Jessup, a top 50 protected pick in 2032, to trade up and get him. Again, that tends to me that says to me that they think this guy might have a future, and his future to me might be in a GP2-like role, right? So we'll wait and see here. Again, there's going to be huge stuff to come in terms of free agency, and particularly Jonathan Kuminga's future. Again, interesting that they drafted a young, similarly sized forward when their brightest young forward's future is certainly up in the air at the moment. Look, could Alex Toohey, could his arrival have an impact on Jonathan Kuminga's future? I don't think so, not significantly. But I think it is worth some note that, hey, you've just drafted a 6'8" forward when, you've got Kuminga's future up in the air. So I don't know. We'll wait and see what happens in free agency. Wait and see what happens with Kuminga. Latest on him, obviously, we've had the Bulls and the Heat largely linked to him, but also the Sacramento Kings were reported as a team that could have interest in him by Sam Amick of The Athletic after the first round yesterday. So some sign and trade options potentially opening up for the Warriors in regard to Jonathan Kuminga. Keegan Murray's a guy I really like at the Sacramento Kings. Would they be willing to give him up? We've talked about that a little bit. And I've wrote about that a little bit as well. In terms of the Heat, I'm not sure what I really like there aside from Andrew Wiggins. But again, that's going to, of course, take Moses Moody most likely as well in such a trade. Would you not rather just wait until Kuminga becomes eligible and then you could basically make just a Kuminga for Wiggins swap? There's also reports that the Lakers are interested in Andrew Wiggins, so they could get in first in regards to him. So I don't know. There's plenty that's going to happen, but in terms of the draft today, I don't know. It's just a little bit disappointing, I think, that the Warriors traded down from 41 to, I would have liked them to trade up. Like you saw, Phoenix were really, really aggressive, and credit to them. They obviously made that trade with the Warriors, but they also traded up to get the 31st pick from Minnesota to take Rasheer Fleming, who was the big slider who most expected to go early in the 20s in the first round, or around that mark. So full credit to Phoenix, who have been, again, they've got their center duo sorted now as well, having traded for Mark Williams and drafting the Duke big man number 10 as well. So Uh, credit to them. I just think the Warriors. I don't know. I would have preferred taking a guy like Bray, who you could say, well, all right, this guy could be an elite sharpshooter in the league. A guy, what did he? I think he shot 49.8% 2 seasons ago and was like 43.5% this season. Like ridiculous 3-point shooting numbers. And that's something that kind of like the Warriors need. And the guy, it's not like he's small either. Like he's 6'7", yes, some defensive and athletic question marks. But I would have just like, he walked up there, he got his Golden State hat on, and I just thought, why couldn't we have just taken this guy ourselves rather than two guys who, yes, like they might develop into some kind of rotation player, but I don't know. I think late second round picks. I wouldn't mind trying some higher upside, trying to get something really substantial there, rather than guys that like, oh man, they could be something, but it's just. I don't want to be. I don't want to be disparaging to Toohey and Richard, but they're kind of boring selections to me. And anyway, like it's not really going to worry me too much. I'm going to be certainly interested in what happens with Summer League coming up here and Toohey and Richard playing there. Hopefully, we might see some more quit and post as well. So looking forward to Summer League and what these guys could potentially produce. But just a little bit disappointed with what the Warriors did on draft day and not just keeping the 41st pick and taking potentially a higher caliber prospect there. Let me know what you guys think of draft day for the Warriors in the second round here and the selections of Alex Toohey and Will Richard. I'll probably come back tomorrow if there's a little bit more news floating about it, a few more wider ranging thoughts on the draft in general and what other teams doing. If you've got any questions ahead of that, then let me know in the YouTube comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POK252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. I will end up on a positive note. The fact the Warriors have another Australian now and Alex Toohey to follow is absolutely fantastic for me, obviously, as an Australian, and hopefully I could see plenty of him and Taron Armstrong playing together in some league and potentially also with Santa Cruz in the G League next season. Both those guys are from the Center of Excellence in Canberra. They, I think, were together in 2020 there, I believe. So it'd be good for them to kind of link back up and potentially play, or most likely you'd expect to play for the Warriors in Summer League coming up here. Until tomorrow, guys, the next episode again, leave me some comments if you have any questions. Thanks very much again for tuning in.